In this video, we're going to do a quick unboxing of the Nikon 70-180 for the Nikon Z system. If you've seen some of my other videos I've recently posted, I did a unboxing of all of the gear I recently got at B&H. Not sponsored by B&H, but hey B&H, if you want to sponsor me, let's do it, man. I did some other unboxing videos of the Tamron 28-75 lens that I purchased as my primary lens that I'm going to be utilizing on my new Z8. And I also did a quick video on the Z8 itself, just an unboxing, but really that video is a lot more about why I decided to go with the Z8 over the other options and why I was considering transitioning from Fujifilm and decided to go with the Z8. So if you want to check out that video, there'll be a link down below as well as probably at the end of this somewhere up here. But the second lens I ended up going with, outside of the two lenses I already have for the Nikon system, Nikon F lenses that I'll be using the adapter for, is a slightly longer lens. And I was kind of on the fence about whether I needed this lens right away, whether I was going to purchase this lens right away, how much I'll end up using this lens. Probably the deciding factor for me was I have an event coming up that I'll be shooting. And again, every person's individual needs and use cases and stuff you tend to shoot, I think is an important consideration when you're deciding which gear you're going to buy. Sometimes it's like buying gear just to buy gear, and if you've got the money to do that, more power to you. That's great. I don't. Usually I'm selling something to get something else. In this case, I'm just making a flat-out investment in myself and in gear. But I had a feeling with this event I would need a little bit of reach. My second consideration from at least the timeliness was I will be going to some spring training baseball games, and I wanted something that had a little bit more reach. There's a high probability that I won't take two cameras to that stadium or to those games, even though there's like a high likelihood I might be traveling with my Fuji camera and my Nikon, just in case something happens with the Nikon early on, or for some reason I have to use the Fuji system. But I can't carry everything for both systems. So I wanted something that had a little bit of length. With the 45 megapixels of the Z8, I can always crop in a little bit too. But I wanted something that I could get some nice closer shots of Aaron Judge in the outfield or other stars on some of the other teams. I could potentially get some stuff of guys batting and hitting during the game. Stuff like that that I wouldn't be able to get on a wide angle lens without cropping very heavily. So I think this lens is going to be a nice sweet spot to have enough length to it, plus the crop factor, to be able to get the kind of stuff I want to shoot with it, but also when it comes to that event that I'm doing, when it comes to either more candid shots from further away, or more importantly, I think there's going to be some stuff, and you'd think I'd know this, but I'll find out from the event coordinator here soon. There may be some scenarios where somebody might be speaking on a stage in front of a room or an audience, and it might be a room of 50 people, it might be a room of 200 people, and having that extra length where you don't have to stand in the front of the room or obstruct someone's view in the front, having that little extra reach to do a nice tight-in shot of somebody on stage, even if you are relatively close, is a nice thing to have. So that's the other reason I got this lens. I can foresee that I'll probably use it for some portrait sessions when I'm outside in particular. It's been a long time since I've actually shot much portrait work on a longer lens. I used to do it all the time when I was a Pentax shooter. I have to go back a little bit further back in my history of camera gear. And I forget what the focal length of the lens. I think it was a 50-135. If you're a Pentax shooter, maybe just leave a comment below if that's a lens that actually exists. But I think it was a 50-135 because it was kind of a non-traditional focal length. But man, I use that lens all the time. And it was probably because the 50 millimeter side of it was still wide enough to do a lot of stuff with. But the 135, and really in that 85-100, 85-110 kind of range was something that I used quite a bit. And especially when I was doing an outside shoot, and the ability to kind of get that extra separation of the background and that extra bokeh, whatever you want to call it, was kind of nice to have, that lens. So maybe this lens will actually open that up to me to be able to do more of that and shoot that way a little bit more. I think I tend to like, especially when I'm doing a portrait or fashion shoot, to be a little bit closer to the subject. That way I don't have to scream when I'm trying to give direction. But also there's something about that kind of connectedness to an individual when you can look them in the eyeballs and you're right there kind of interacting with them while you're doing the shoot, and not like really far away. I tend to be also on location by myself, so I also don't have someone sometimes to watch my gear and to watch the stuff so somebody doesn't run off with it. So that's also a consideration if I'm further away from my lights or further away from my camera bag or something like that. That can sometimes be an issue too. So with that, let's do an unboxing real quick. Again, you guys have seen probably photos of this lens. You know, this isn't really the exciting part. It's less about the unboxing and it's more of just giving me an excuse to maybe have a quick chat with you. I'm assuming that's the lens hood. Just have a quick chat with you, which, is there a lens hood for the Tamron? Well, I did that unboxing. I don't remember seeing a lens hood. I think it might have been flipped. Hopefully there is a lens hood for that camera because I use lens hoods a lot and it's not necessarily just for flare and glare and all the stuff the lens hoods are great for, but it's more about being a clumsy fool. And I tend to be rather clumsy and bump stuff a lot. So it's a nice added protection on top of a UV lens or UV filter. I'll put on all my lenses too. And this one actually, when I bought this from B&H, there was a bundle option where you could get bundled a UV filter. I don't have it here handy, but it's not the best of you. It's not like it's a B&W or some of the other brands like a Hoya or something like that. It's kind of a knockoff brand. I don't know if it matters when it comes to UV lenses so much, but there's a good chance I'm kind of see if I have another one laying around here that's the right diameter, or might be buying one to replace that one. But so maybe I'll risk it with this lens and not put one on initially. But anyway, this is the Nikon. Again, this is the 70 to 180 f2.8. I will say the initial reaction is that, man, it's a gorgeous lens. Just the overall design of it. This is probably the thing with all of the Z lenses, though. They're pretty minimalistic. They're pretty modern looking. They're pretty kind of quasi-sexy looking, if you will, for camera gear. This is an externally zooming lens. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not. I have some dark backgrounds here I'm still working on, but it does have a locking switch, which is nice. So you can actually kind of go to a focal length, let's say 105 millimeters, and then in theory lock it, but it doesn't appear that it locks at a particular focal length. So it looks like maybe it just locks at 70 only, which is kind of interesting. That you can't actually lock it. The other thing I'm noticing right away on the zoom ring on this is I'm already getting some fingerprints on it and smudging. I don't think my fingers are particularly greasy right now, but I'm already starting to see some finger smudges and stuff on here. I don't really see any or see it happening on the body outside of the rings, the focus rings and the zoom ring, but yeah, overall it looks like a really nice lens. Again, I love the fact that it was f2.8 as well. That just provides that extra flexibility and shooting in low light environments or having that extra black background blur. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to talk about here. I don't know what this back ring, if you can do aperture selection with this back ring or not. It's actually a little bit stiffer. I mentioned this in my Tamron video. The Tamron ring is very loose, and not like very loose, but it's pretty loose and it's pretty easy to bump. This is definitely tighter and is a little bit smoother, but at the same time, it's non-clickable, which I guess if you're shooting video content, that's really nice to have as a declicked lens or a declicked aperture. I don't know how much you're actually changing aperture in the middle of video shooting anyway. I guess that's a thing, but probably not much of a thing for some people too. So I suspect that if there's an option to deactivate this, I probably won't use this ring for really anything, and will just stick with using the front dial for aperture on the camera itself. The one thing I'll have to still figure out yet on the Z8 is how I'm going to map and easily access ISO. Because it is kind of nice to have ISO on the front, shutter on the back dial, and then aperture on the ring. That's how I have my Fuji set up. So it's nice that I can access the entire lighting triangle with one hand, but also very quickly with, well, two hands, I guess, but very quickly with either a turn of a dial here or a turn of one of these two dials. I can very quickly change the three main things that you need to change on the fly when you're doing shoots. So, or really photography of any type. So, yeah, I think it was a good investment. I think it's a great choice. I'll do another review of this once I've actually used it for a while. It's definitely heavy though, so I can't imagine, especially compared to like my 55 to 200 in the Fuji system. The 55 to 200 is my probably third or fourth most used lens, but it's a nice specialty lens that I tend to pull out a lot when I'm traveling. I'm doing landscape stuff, or if I'm going to like a baseball game, something like that, I'll use that lens a lot. I don't know if I'd carry this around for an extended period of time or to a baseball game. Combined with the Z8, this is a lot of weight. So that's something for me to consider in the future or think about more about, but I suspect that in some ways that will limit the use of this lens for me. So we'll find out, but that's it for this unboxing. Relatively short compared to my other videos, but hopefully you saw some value in that content or insights as I did this unboxing. If you liked this content, give it a like, leave a comment below, and of course I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel because I do have a ton of additional content coming. So have a great day, happy shooting. It's really cold and snowy here, so I won't be going outside to do any shooting anytime soon, but Sunday I'll be in Florida, so I'll be doing a lot of shooting there. So thanks again, have a great day.